when I started Sounds True with the goal of disseminating spiritual wisdom, what was really alive, what meant the world to me, was to introduce as many people as possible to meditation and other wisdom practices and teachings that would help open up inside of people access to their own sense of boundlessness, their own sense of boundless space, and the kind of capacities, the sense of inner freedom and outer impact that come from that. Okay, I never thought of myself as a marketer. I thought of myself as a content person. I create the best, most meaningful, most transformational content with the best leading authors, teachers in this space. And then I discovered a couple of things. That sounds true. One thing I discovered was when we made these beautiful learning programs and I passed them off to the marketers described the programs in ways that I found loathsome. Go right for it. I was like, no, that's not what the program's really about. Why are you promising people that they're going to have this kind of result from this program? That's not what's in the program. So the first thing that happened for me when I tried not to be involved in marketing, because I didn't want to be involved in marketing. I just wanted to focus on the content, the author relationships, making beautiful, transformative programs. But what I saw was when I just let the marketers do it, they misrepresented the programs. They made promises that I thought were over promises. They diluted, and that upset me. And then the second thing I noticed when I was trying to avoid being in marketing, and I think I spent a couple decades trying to avoid it, was that I saw other people who started entering the field of bringing meditation to people, bringing transformational teachings, various kinds of self-help programs. I saw other people selling, are you ready for this? 10 to 20 times more than what Sounds True is selling, even though we were working with Thich Nhat Hanh. We were working with Pema Chodron. We had the best teachers in the field, and other people were coming on using marketing tactics and selling 10 to 20 times more of programs that I knew were not as valuable, as meaningful, as deep, and as pure as what we were doing at Sounds True. So these two things were on my mind, and I was like, okay, Tami, you can sit on the sideline and you can complain about marketing, or you can roll up your sleeves and get involved. And you don't really have a choice if you want to grow your company. And if you want to take the good medicine, and this is actually a metaphor that Richard Taubinger helped me understand, that if you think of yourself as somebody who is a healer, someone who has medicine, who has something of real value for other people, if you want your medicine to reach people, and I think of, one of the phrases for the Dharma teachings, wisdom teachings, is actually good medicine. The Buddha was considered the greatest physician, and the teachings and practices were considered this good medicine. If you want your good medicine to reach people, you're going to have to get out there. So I had to remove my position of being a reluctant marketer and say, if I don't like the way the marketers are describing the program, why don't I describe the program? Why don't I say what it's about? Why don't I say why I wanted to record this program in the first place? Why don't I describe what the transformational benefits are? Why don't I use my own language? And why don't I learn the tactics of marketing and fill those tactics, which in many ways are neutral, they're just strategies, and fill them with something really profound, valuable, and meaningful that gives something to people right in the discussion and presentation of what the program is. So that's how I got involved in conscious marketing.
Mm. Tami, thank you for sharing that. And next up, we've got Richard Taubinger, who is one of the world's leading digital and launch experts. So he does strategy for a lot of the authors and spiritual teachers and people that you're really familiar with, psychiatrists, psychologists. And Richard has an agency called Conscious Marketer. Conscious Marketer has actually executed 250 online launches, and that includes summits, membership sites, signature online programs. It's highly likely you've seen some of his work on the internet. Richard, I'd love to hear about your journey with being a reluctant marketer.
Sure. Well, it's kind of interesting because, like Tami, I ended up in Asia in my early 20s. And I initially was in finance and trading, and I lived in Hong Kong and Singapore and Japan. And I would basically trade and do my day job. And then I would come home and meditate and explore spiritual traditions at night and on weekends. And that was kind of one of my major passions at the time. And there was a point where kind of just the thought of trading numbers and doing things like that started to make me sick. And I just knew I needed to figure out a way to contribute to the world. And when I came back to the United States in my early 30s, I took a job at Stanford and I was in their business school. And I remember part of my job was to place a lot of the graduates in internships and international jobs. And I had all these jobs I was looking at. And I was a little, not completely lost, but I was definitely a searching soul at that time. And I was seeing all these jobs. A lot of people were wanting the job that I just came from. And then I was seeing things like Save the Rainforest and a lot of nonprofit jobs, and they weren't resonating with me. And it was like I heard this voice from my higher self or soul, and it kind of dropped in, and it was like, what you care about is helping people create interchange, going inside and doing their inner work to connect. And it was kind of like that was like a turning point for me. And at that point, I knew what my mission was. And at the time, I had contact with some healers and some meditation teachers. And so I just started to help them on the side. And that became kind of a full time business. And so when people would ask what I would do, I would say, well, I help, people in transformation and consciousness get their stuff online and create impact. And it wasn't probably until about 5 years ago, somebody was like, hey, you actually run an agency, right? And I was like, well, what's an agency? And they're like, you have set clients and you give them packages. And I was like, oh, I guess I do run an agency. Um, and so kind of fast forward to now, we've focused on basically helping people who, like the title of this webinar, that don't like marketing, who are maybe a little bit more reluctant. And we've kind of innovated some of our own methods and own ways so that if you have something to share, you can get it out there. And we'll talk about more of that later. But I think the good news is that there are really authentic, value driven ways to get your products on the market and services in the market. And it's important both for the people you serve and also for your own path and soul growth that you kind of step in to that calling, whatever that might be for you.